Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said with me, your host, Christiana Malacara. As I do every week, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. If this is your first episode, fifth episode, whichever it might be, and listening, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself and learn about just empowering women in the Great Lakes Bay region as we spill the tea. The ways to listen would be, if you are seeing us, it is most likely on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and it's Thursday at 1:30, which is a great way to view and to listen, because you can leave a comment there. You can share and also like and follow. But those comments, I actually do. I read them. I read all of them. So leave us some comments. And then also, if you did enjoy the episode, leave us a review. We want to know how we did and ways we may be able to improve. Over the airwaves, you can listen to us on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. or a Sunday evening at 6 on 100.5 WSGW and 790. We are also in the Spotify format, or I guess I should say podcast format, on Spotify and basically everywhere that you are listening to your podcasts, when you're doing the laundry and doing the dishes or cutting the grass or whatever it might be. This is a great time to kind of just invest in yourself. So for those who have been following along for the year and some months, I've been evolving, right? You know, I get this opportunity that it's bizarre and a blessing. And I am evolving and learning from all the women that sit across from me each and every week. And a common thread that we had seen, Jonathan and I, producer Jonathan Dent and I have seen, is they journal, they write things down. And I was never that girl. I was like, oh, I'll remember it later. Or maybe I'd actually like write it on my hand. And no longer. I've been journaling. And I came across this thought. I don't know if it was in conversation or maybe I heard something, and I quickly write it down. And what I had wrote down was the word guarantee. And that had come to mind in the fact of we want to guarantee that things are going to happen for us, but that's not always true. And when we have this guarantee on other people, we expect them to happen. But when we put that and kind of pivot that on ourselves, maybe sometimes we give ourselves a little too much grace. So if someone made you a promise, for example, I'm going to go to dinner with you on Friday at 6:00, you expect that as a guarantee. And we don't always give that person grace if they can't make it. Something came up, they need to reschedule. But on the other hand, if that situation was reversed, we're giving ourselves grace. Oh, I just don't feel like it. I don't want to. Or this came up. I'm sure they'll understand. So holding ourselves to that guarantee, I personally think that is just one more step in investing in yourself, making yourself a better quality person, a better quality woman, better quality mother, wife, coworker, friend. If you just place that guarantee upon yourself and take yourself a little more seriously for the people around you. So as you move through your week, let's think about times in our life where maybe we dropped the ball when it came to, guaranteeing something for someone upon ourselves, and then also giving grace to others when they truly are unable to move through their guarantee. So I have a really cool guest here today. I told her that I'm a big fan of hers, and this is true. This is true. We had a phone conversation a couple of years ago, and it just stuck in my head. I was like, hey, she's cool. So I asked her not too long ago to come on, and it was just this, yeah, when, let me know. So without further ado, I have Bridgette
Gransden.
I'm sorry, I wrote it down phonetically and I just blanked. Gransden. Bridgette Gransden is here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking. I'm honored.
I know. No. I am. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here and share. That's what's the important part is just kind of opening up and sharing. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. So how might the community know you?
So the community might know me a few different ways. Right now, and I would say for the last 31 years, next Friday, I've been working for the County of Midland, and I started as the finance director back in 1994. I'm accountant by trade, CPA, and since 2009, I've been the county administrator controller. So you might have seen me in the newspaper. You might have seen me at an event in the community. I am very active outside of my office in the community. I serve on quite a few boards. If you were in this Great Lakes Bay region back in 2020 when we had a historic flood and 2 dams fail, you might have recognized my face from a press conference or a few, which I hope to never have to do again for that reason.
31 years.
31 years.
Wow.
I started when I was 12, so it is easier to acknowledge that.
Course.
It's always my joke.
Yeah. I mean, hey, run with it.
All right.
Run with it. 31 years in this position, but there's so much that has changed in 31 years.
So many things.
Yes, you've changed.
I have changed.
Okay, so let's go back.
Right.
Let's go back 32 years ago.
Okay.
Did you think you were going to be doing this still?
Let's go back even a little further.
Ooh, all right.
I would say absolutely not. So in college, so I grew up in Beaverton. Love actually my small town upbringing. Most people might not say that. When I was there, it was like, there's not nearly enough to do here. I can't wait to get out of here. Now I am so grateful for it, right? That gratitude that we think about all the time. We have neighboring week in Midland. And I always jokingly say to the mayor, when you grow up in a small town, every day is neighboring day. Mm-hmm. You're in the neighbor's business, whether they want you in it or not, and they're in yours, and you're just there for each other. And I think that it's really important to acknowledge how important other people are to what we do. We don't operate in a vacuum. So when I graduated from high school and I went to college, I really thought at first I wanted to be a stockbroker. And because I really thought I could make a lot of money, and I hated my first econ class. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going back to accounting, which I absolutely love. And I graduated from Northwood as valedictorian in my class as an accountant, which is always a big, point of bragging for my parents. Yeah. It is something that I was super proud of, and I still am. I don't want to minimize how important it was at that time in my life. But it didn't require. I was very much a perfectionist, and it wasn't healthy for me, not at all. I really just nose to the grindstone, didn't have much of a social life, and I was determined to get that A, right? And I would tell you now that it probably didn't do anything more for me than if I had gotten B's, except, have a negative impact on my health. But at the time, all I really cared about was graduating and getting a job and making a lot of money. And I didn't ever expect that to be a career in local government. So if anyone had said to me, you will make a career and find your passion in local government, I would have told them they were crazy.
Well, you said you were going to school to be a stockbroker.
Well, it sounded fun.
Okay.
It sounded fun. Like I could see myself on Wall Street and doing all of these amazing things. And I took that first econ class and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so boring. I cannot do this. Now, some people might say that econ is no more or less boring than accounting, but it's just not true.
That's my question. You said you love accounting.
Yes, because accounting is more of a science. So there's a right and a wrong answer with accounting, where like being in the brokerage business is more of a game, right? And I do love puzzles, but I would say that's one of the reasons why I loved auditing, right? It was solving a puzzle, somebody else's puzzle, trying to look into somebody's story and figure out what what evolved in their month, in their year, that brought them to where we are in their audit and in their story. So to me, that was a little more up my alley. And I did when I worked in public accounting, I enjoyed it. I did a lot of auditing of nonprofits and local governments. And so when the finance director's job opened in Midland County, I thought, that's right up my alley. I think I could do that, which, as it turned out, I could do that. But if anyone had said to me, you're going to spend your career here and you're going to find a passion here, I would have said, yeah, probably not. This is just sort of a stepping stone.
Okay.
But I was 25 years old. It was a great opportunity. I was supervising people, 6 people. I was a department head. And I became really involved in the Midland community. I mean,
Well, you were at Northwood.
I was, but I commuted from Beaverton. I stayed at home. My parents allowed me to live there so I could save some money, which was important, right? And being a commuting student was a little different than living on campus, but I went to school in the morning on campus, and then I co-opted at Dow Chemical in the afternoon. So gave me a lot of opportunity to start building that network and making connections in Midland, even though when I graduated, my accounting job was in Bay City. So I was back and forth a lot.
Whoa. Okay. So we're in Midland going to school, graduated, top of your class. You're commuting. You have a co-op.
Yes.
What was that? Let's unpack that. Because even now, we still have students who even may be listening, and they are the commuter, and that takes an extra layer of effort. You're not here. It's not immediate. You have to consciously say all right, I'm going to class and I'm staying here until this is done. What did that look like for you?
Well, my parents were unbelievably supportive. So here's what I didn't have in the very traditional way. I did not have the roommates that I went back and hung out with that we could talk about class, right? Instead, I had a mother who was very willing to help me study. And I would write out all of my questions if let's say I was studying for an exam on a topic that she obviously had no clue about, right? Because she wasn't going into the accounting field. She hadn't been in, it's a long time since she's been in college. And in question and answer form, the questions I would be using to help myself study. And that helped me to remember it by writing it. And the answer was right there. So it was no BS. No, that's not the answer.
So it was Michigander. No, hon. No. So, okay. So this is really interesting to me because, in college, our parents, traditionally women have sat across from me, or I've heard you're kind of on your own, and that whole studying method with mom and dad sitting at the dining room table, that's in elementary, middle school, sometimes high school, but then they just kind of, all right, bye, Bridgette, good luck.
Well, and I think that would have been the case if I had not given her the tools to be able to help me, right? So I made it very easy for her to participate, and she was willing. And I was so blessed for that, because I could have potentially done the same thing with roommates. But, roommates might have had their own classes they needed to study for and may not have been as willing to do that. It took effort on my part also, but that also helped me. And I think when you just set a goal, I had a goal. I was determined. When I graduated from high school, I graduated 4th in my class. Now, Beaverton is a small school, but I was really aggravated that I wasn't 1st or 2nd in my class. So I sort of set this goal for me. I'm telling you, the perfectionist thing was great to a degree. It was great to a degree, but it was, at least once or twice I ended up in the emergency room in college because I had just run myself down. And it was impacting my health, whether it was migraines or, I wasn't giving myself enough nourishment, whatever it was. I didn't schedule time for a lunch, or I didn't schedule time to take a break. Those things, at the time, I wasn't able to acknowledge what a detriment that was, Christiana, but certainly as I got later into my 20s and then I had children and I saw them studying, and I would, say, look, a B is a really good grade as long as you're putting forth the effort. Now, it's a really good grade anyway, but my daughter would often get frustrated. She'd say, when Gabe gets a B, you're excited. When I get a B, you're upset. And my response would often be, because you have an A brain, right? Gabe has to work so much harder right now to get a B because he doesn't have the same type of recall or memory that you do. But if you would put that phone down and pick up your book, you'd have an A really easily. She didn't love it.
We're getting here. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. We're going to go back to college.
Yes.
College, Bridgette. So you said, I'm a perfectionist. I needed to be top. I had goals, and you suffered from this physically.
I did.
So what was it that when was it? Here we go. When was it that you decided, I'm no longer going to be a perfectionist and I need to start taking care of me?
So it was really about taking care of somebody else. And it was after I had my daughter. And it's almost as if I can put myself in the room of when this phone call was. So I was working, I was finance director at the county, and my daughter was born in 1998, and she was maybe about 6 months old. And I'd come home and she was laying on the living room floor. I was playing with her, and my mom called and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just playing with Natalie." And she said, jokingly, she said, "Don't you have anything else better to do?" And I started laughing. I said, "I do, but all these things can wait, right? The housekeeping can wait. The cooking can wait. All of these things can wait because I don't want to miss out on these times." And so really it was that need to turn outward, that goal or that caring of someone else, that really made it so I didn't really have to have the perfect house, my perfect schedule, the perfect grade. All those things didn't seem to matter as much.
This was later in life.
Yeah, I was probably 30.
And mom was still teaching you.
She was. She still does today. I still call her. "Hey, tell me how you did this again." I forgot.
She sounds witty too.
She is. I get my wit from both my parents. My dad is actually far more witty than my mother, but my mother has quite a bit of wit.
It rubs off.
It does. It does rub off.
So ways that you exercise being more present. You're saying those present, those conscious, like, I'm going to be present in this moment right now.
Yeah.
This kind of relieved the pressure of being a perfectionist?
For me, it did, because what Natalie needed was way more important than what I thought I needed, right? Or the goal that I had set for myself. It doesn't mean that I never had goals after that, Christiana, because I certainly did. It just meant I approached it very differently. It wasn't at the risk or someone else. I would never have tried to meet those goals if it risked harming the kids or my family. Or
in which ways? What do you mean?
Like if it was something that, okay, this is what I want to do, but it means that I won't be home, only but an hour every night. Right. So those things were important to me, especially while the kids were younger. But I didn't give up setting those kind of goals. As my kids got older, it was important for me to explain it's important for mom to work, and it's important because it's good for my self-esteem, and it's also good for you to see me working and for the independence that you have doing some things for yourself as they were getting older, when they could, obviously. So I think that role modeling was really important, but it couldn't be me doing whatever I need to do to meet a goal at the risk of my health, because that's not the model I wanted to set for them.
Health is wealth. It really is at the end of the day.
And not just my physical health, my mental health was important, right? Like if this is going to take me out of the realm of I can't think. Now I'm just constantly anxious and worried about this. I can't do that.
So, what is something, maybe one or two things, as far as pieces of advice that you would give to a mom who is feeling like overwhelmed and tired and can't necessarily process the prioritizing part?
Well, I guess I would say that in some ways, it depends on how old the kids are, right? What age they are. Because when they're little and they can't do much for themselves or they're really dependent on you, it is all those other things except meeting those needs are still going to take care of themselves, right? The dishes are still going to be there. The laundry's still going to be there. If you don't take care of you, you're not going to be able to take care of those kids. It's just like the whole oxygen mask on an airplane analogy, right? You have to put yours on first before you can take care of anybody else. And so at various stages in my career, I would say that I kind of moved into the opposite direction where most of what I was focusing on was everybody else but me.
And I think that's a good point. We talk about that, filling, making sure your glass is full,
Right.
so that way you can pour into others.
Yeah, you have to fill your cup.
You do. You really do. Especially having that mom role, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when we get back to the second half of That's What She Said with Bridgette Gransden, we're going to talk a little bit about maybe kindness, humor, and I know a little something about her that we're going to share. So come back to the second half of That's What She Said with Christiana, Malacara. We'll see you soon.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
Hi, and welcome back to the second half of That's What She Said with me, Christiana Malacara. We were just having a very insightful conversation about there were so many things. Honestly, perfection and releasing that standard that we give ourselves, and kind of also leaning on mom. That's something that we see quite often and reoccurring with a guest from That's What She Said, but it's always in a different way. And for Bridgette, leaning on mom, she was your tutor in a way in college.
She was. I don't think she planned that.
Yeah.
But she was very willing. So it was wonderful that she was, there to help me with that. Because truthfully, I don't know if I could have found somebody else to, sit and just be willing to ask me the same questions over and over so that I felt like I was more than prepared for an exam.
Would you consider mom being a role model in your life?
Oh, there's certainly no question. She is. She's kind. She is humble and she is witty, right? She often makes herself the butt of jokes, which we all do at some point in time. But I also think that there is a lot of modesty, that she does not give herself enough credit for the impact that she has on people.
Do you?
Oh, do we ever? Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
How can we get better at that?
It's hard to toot our own horns. It's really hard to toot our own horns. But I think that there are ways to do that don't sound arrogant. And here is one of the things that pieces of advice that I would give to women, and that is, we often practice showing gratitude, but we really stink at accepting it. So when someone gives us a compliment, or we're often, I'll bet you do the same thing. Someone gives you a compliment and you sort of blow it off by saying, oh, thanks. That's, and you often show, like you try and shed the light on somebody else who helped with something. And it's really important, and I have to practice it because I'm not very good at it either, but it's really important when someone shows you a compliment, to say just simply thank you, because by minimizing the compliment or the gratitude, in some ways we're minimizing the fact that they want to be gracious, and we don't want to do that. We want to encourage people to be gracious and show gratitude and be kind and acknowledge other people. And so if we are gracious enough just to accept it, we're also complimenting them at the same time. But it's not easy.
No, it's not.
Because we're taught to be humble, right? And you can still be humble and accept gratitude and a compliment.
I have this running theory that accepting a compliment is just another layer of someone being genuine. We're accepting them being genuine, so let's be genuine back. And it's that deposit, right, that we're giving each other.
Correct.
And then we can go and make that deposit in someone else, and it's all of a sudden it's acceptable, right? And so now it's this ongoing, and I say it all the time, and my listeners know, it's this ongoing ripple effect of just, oh, nice shirt. And then you walk by, oh, thank you. We don't always have to say, oh, it was on clearance, don't worry about it.
Right.
So it's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
In the first half, we talked about being a perfectionist, and I know that I'm kind of going back to this again.
Sure.
But you were in school being a perfectionist, and you were wearing yourself down physically,
yes,
mentally,
yes.
And just fairly recently, we had a student on who she was moving from high school to college, and she was looking for all these kind of tips and pearls on how to move through and navigate in that. So what were some tools that you used to get you through college as a perfectionist, and then as keeping yourself healthy and moving and being top of your class?
Well, I don't know that I was very good at it because I didn't, it did impact my health at certain times. But it, for me, I had a teacher, professor, English professor out at Northwood. He probably doesn't even remember this happened. But at one point, he kind of helped push me down the road a little bit of, hey, you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to always be an A with no minus behind it. And it was an English class, and we had to write a paper, and we couldn't use any negative words, which is very challenging. I don't know if you've even thought about how you can't use no, not, never, any contractions that have the word not in them. It's very difficult. And I had been successful in and how I wrote it. And I got an A- on that paper. And I remember after class, I walked up to him and I said, hey, Mr. Phillips, can you just tell me why I got this, why I got an A-? And he said, you got an A-, Bridgette. I'm like, yeah, why? Right? Like, I wanted to know why. Why wasn't it an A? Why was it only an A-? And he just looked at me and he said, you got an A-, get out of here. Right? Like, well, okay. And at first I was a little frustrated by that, because if he couldn't tell me why it was an A- and not an A, what was wrong with it? And I think that was the kind of the first light bulb that sent me the message that so many things are subjective, right? So we can try our best at everything. We can think we've done something perfectly, and somebody else still might not think it is the first in class or best in class. And I think that that's one of the best pieces of advice I can give to young people, is that don't grade yourself on others' subjectivity, because a lot of our value needs to come from inside, that intrinsic reward. I did a good job on this. I felt like I probably, looking back, should have thought to myself, wow, I got an A- and I didn't use a single negative word in that paper, instead of being concerned about why someone didn't think it was good enough to get an A. And as I've had more experience in life and the world's become a lot more gray than black and white, it is easier to see that there is so much subjectivity in what we do in our work, in our interactions with people, whether it's friends or family, colleagues. We never really know what is going on in someone's life. We don't know why they judge something to be less than or more than what I would. And it reminds me of, and I know you might ask this, but my favorite, one of my favorite quotes, I have several, but one of them is my Walt Whitman quote made famous by Ted Lasso. Again, be curious, not judgmental.
Be curious, not judgmental.
Because when someone, and I would say for students, young people, this is really important too, because we take everything so personally and we have no idea if someone walks into my office and immediately they are at me, there's a 95% chance that none of what is coming out of their mouth has anything to do with me. And
That's a good point.
instead of me automatically being defensive, because that's what happens when people come at us, we become defensive. You know, I've really tried to challenge myself to start asking myself questions and be curious. And curiosity is my third strength. So,
okay.
And we'll talk about
we're gonna
signature
get to
strengths.
that. Yeah, we sure are.
But I will say that it's been helpful for me. It's been helpful in improving relationships. It's been helpful for me engaging in the community. And that is asking myself questions. Like if someone comes in my office in the scenario I just mentioned, the why behind something, like, okay, what just happened with them? What are they talking about?
Because it's carrying on to you.
It is.
Whatever they went through is carrying on to you.
Yes.
And you don't know.
Right.
They might not be sharing that.
Correct. Well, chances are they never will.
Yeah.
Because we hold things right here. But most of my leadership team and even people in the community have heard me say this regularly, that well-being is so important. And it's something that I try really hard to infuse into the culture at the county. And that is, you know, we cannot flip a switch when someone walks in the door of the county building for their work or in the courthouse or wherever and turn off all of the stuff we've been worrying about from home, friends, family, whatever. It's not possible. This whole work-life balance is just a myth. There is no such thing as work-life balance, in my opinion.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Hold on. We're putting a pin in that. What? Work-life balance. You think this is just fiction?
Because there is no such thing.
Why?
Because they intertwine all the time. So during someone's workday, they're going to have personal things that they have to address. They're going to have to flip their focus from work to home. At any one given time, work might require 75% of my attention, where my non-work life can only have 25% of my attention, and so on and so forth. There's never this equality between them. It's being able to manage the juggling of those things in a way that doesn't negatively impact you or your work or your family or your friends.
Do you think you do that well?
I think I'm a lot better at it than I used to be.
When did that happen? When did the better part start to happen?
When I acknowledged that I couldn't do it all. When I acknowledged that, yes, there are all these things I want to do, and I'm hoping to do them all really well. But if I keep pushing myself to do them all at 100%, something's going to give. And that can't be family and it can't be work, because I have to have a job and my family is important to me. So I really just needed to be able to acknowledge when I needed to ask for help, when I needed to be able to say, can't do this right now. I'm just now starting at 56 to be getting better at saying no to things. But it's because if I don't, at some point I'm going to break. And then I'm no good to anybody. Not to work, not to my family, not to the community.
Wow.
So.
No, do you think that you've discovered this through, and we're going to talk about it now, is your signature strengths?
100%. That training that I had, I was with a group of 39 other people in 2018 in Midland who went through a 6-month course to be certified in positive psychology. And one of the modules in that programming was really on relationships. And we talk about signature strengths through the values in action character strength survey. And anybody can do the survey. There's a free survey online. It's actually very interesting. I've done presentations with on this topic all over. Sometimes I do them by myself. Sometimes I'm with Kathy Snyder, our Wellbeing Coalition coordinator in Midland. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's so important is because if I know what somebody, like my leadership team's done this, there's 24 character strengths that we all have. Some of them they can't all be number one, right? Mm-hmm. And we refer to the top 5 as our key strengths or signature strengths. And those are the things that we get energy from. And it's really easy to lean into because those are the things that we love and really have value for us. It doesn't mean that the others are weaknesses. We refer to those as our middle strengths or lesser strengths. And so I have very much tried to lean into my top 5, my key strengths, which are in order.
I was going to ask, what are they?
Kindness, humor, curiosity, hope, and love. And when we did this training back in 2018, I remember, I've told this story so many times, people are probably sick of hearing it, but I remember saying, oh my gosh, leadership is not in my top 5. Do not tell the Board of Commissioners.
Oh.
And the instructor of our class said, B, don't worry about that because the top 5 that you have are how you lead. Oh. And I thought, wow, that's really profound. But as I really started to think about it, and there were people in the class who knew me, including one of my department heads, she said that is 100% true, that is exactly how she does lead the team and the people that work with us at the county. And,
you're leading with your heart, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a different type of leadership, and
100%.
And there's all different types of leaderships, mm-hmm. and it just depends on where are we leading? Which part mm-hmm. of these 25 characteristics is it right. that we're right. able to amplify to help others?
Right.
So I'm going to ask, what was on the bottom of the list?
Self-regulation. I'm not the only one. Like people that self-report with this survey, this character strength survey, it's in the bottom 5 for most everybody.
Okay.
And I acknowledge it, right? Like, look, I'm not going to pass up a bowl of ice cream if I really want the bowl of ice cream.
Yeah.
So yes, self-regulation is not my top strength.
But
but I'm kind when I'm eating my ice cream.
She doesn't get hangry, guys.
Yeah, right.
So is that something that you, like those bottom 5, did you ever tell yourself, I want to work on these to make them kind of move up the list, or did you accept it, or what?
That's a great question. There are, if you are on the VIA website, there are actually suggestions that they can give you to try and increase or improve upon some of your lesser strengths. But studies have shown that you are who you are. And for the most part, those top 5, 6, 7, they don't really move around too much because we get energy from what we get energy from. And, you can think about athletes, right? I imagine self-regulation is in their top 5 because that's what they get energy from, is this real, structure. Like I'm a planner. I like structure in my day, but, I don't really want to tell myself I can't have something or do something if I really want to do it. Mm-hmm. So not indulgent necessarily, but life is short.
Yeah.
So I want to do things that are kind, and that I use humor in a lot of different ways. I use it to break down barriers and make people feel less uncomfortable in situations. I'm often the butt of my own humor just for that reason.
Like mom.
Yes, like mom. Yes, like mom. So that other people don't feel insecure about things. And it often works. But I think all of those things combined, several, I think, of my, close friends and colleagues would say that these are the reasons why Bridgette is genuine and inclusive and who she is.
Is it important for you to make people feel comfortable around you?
All the time. And I want everyone to feel included. And that doesn't mean, like the not DEI included, not in that way. I want people to feel like they're welcome at my table. If I'm at a community event and there's an extra seat open and I see someone that I know, but not everybody at the table knows, I invite them over. There's a seat here, and I make sure to introduce them to everybody at the table because connections matter. Relationships matter. I regularly tell my kids and other young people, and I would tell the students that you have listening now, that I believe 100% that the key to someone's success is really only about 40 to 50% of what they know and their skills. That doesn't mean you get to fail in college or whatever trade school you're at. So, try really
Keep
hard.
studying, guys.
Yeah, keep studying.
What about the other half?
The rest is relationships. They are the key to people being successful. Like, if you cannot engage with people, if you cannot build relationships, if you don't know how to make connections, and I don't mean, oh yeah, let's name drop so you get in the door. I mean genuine connections, like really wanting to get to know people and remembering them and knowing things about them, not just the small talk and kicking it, but really being, again, I'll go back to it, curious about who they are and what makes them tick.
There's that quote, curiosity killed the cat or something like that,
Yes.
right? But I always thought of curiosity creates belonging.
Yes.
And it's, where do I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And let me try this and see where it goes. I'm going to take a shift here in the next couple minutes, literally only couple minutes. This is flying by for me. But what do you see for yourself next?
I don't know. I mean,
it's a good answer.
I tell people, I don't know is an acceptable answer. You don't have to have all the answers. So I don't know. I always used to joke that when I retired, I thought I'd be a lobbyist because I think I'd be really good at it. But in today's environment, I don't really know that I want any part of that.
I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And this is the question, because I know you had an answer, but I'd like you to, expand on it slightly. Is what is a piece of advice that you would share to a woman in the region?
I would say, don't worry about failing. One of my favorite quotes is an Einstein quote, and that is, failure is success in progress. So he didn't succeed immediately with every invention. So find your passion, find some mentors, and do what you need to do to just be you, and don't worry about failing.
Okay, so now what's your favorite Ted Lasso quote? This is the part that I knew that maybe not everybody else know. Bridgette's a big Ted Lasso fan. What's your favorite quote from them?
I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. I'm not really sure which is my favorite Ted Lasso quote. It's not from him. It's from Higgins on Ted Lasso, and he is like the most accountant type character that I can relate to on the show. But he tells Keely, a good mentor hopes you'll move on. A great mentor knows you will.
Oh, wow.
And that I will never forget because it's true.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here. So those quotes, thank you for sharing. And I want to say that's Bridgette Gransden. And